Okay, so we're back with another video of the patterns that we're printing. So in today's video, we'll be printing this particular pattern. It's a beautiful pattern and it may look a bit complicated, but it isn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this pattern in one window and write the program in the other. Okay, so let's start. So I've divided the whole thing into three portions. The first portion comprises of this part, a triangle. The second portion comprises of this part, rectangle, and the third portion comprises of this portion, which is a inverted triangle. An inverted triangle. So let's go. First, we'll take the first portion, the triangle. Okay. So you see, in the first portion, there are spaces first, then the stars, and within two stars, there's a space. So first, we'll declare a variable for printing the spaces. Okay. So let's go. I'll write a variable known as sp outer. I'm going to decrease the font a bit. Sp outer. Okay, so I'm going to initialize sp outer with 3. The reason for that will be there are 3 spaces in the beginning, 1, 2, 3. Okay, the next line I'll declare another variable which is sp inner, which basically counts for the spaces in between. So I'll initialize it with 1. And the reason for that is in the first line there is only one space. Initialization will be done on the basis of the first spaces. Okay, now I'll start writing the loops. So the first loop would be for I in range, and I'll go from 1 to 5. The reason for that is the first 4 lines, the loop will run for 4 times. 1 to 5, the loop will run for 4 times. Now, you see, in every line, first comes the spaces, then comes the stars. And that's the very nature of every line. So we'll go by that pattern. So for j in range, and I'll write the whole thing outer plus 1. And the reason for that is I want to run the loop for the number of times I've initialized sp outer, which means in the first case the 3 spaces will be printed. 1, 2, 3, and that's the very nature of these lines. Okay, so now in the next line I'll print the spaces. And my next job would be decreasing the whole thing, decreasing outer, sp outer, by a series of, by a number of -1. Because the spaces tend to decrease with 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So now, but there is one thing that is to be done. That is, after the spaces, a star has to be printed. You see, in the beginning, all the spaces are followed by a star. So I'll write a print statement that would be star and end equal to, like this. Okay, so we have done the part which comprise of the beginning spaces and this beginning star. Okay, first star, in each line. Now I'll come to the spaces that lies in between two stars. Okay, so for k in range, 1, 2, sp inner -1. Okay. Now, in the next line, I'm going to be printing the spaces. So I'll copy this whole thing and print it right here. Now, the spaces sp inner sp inner sp inner will increase with 2. Why? The reason for that is in the first line there is only one space. In the second line there are 3 spaces. In the third line there are 5 spaces. In the next line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a case where there is only one star in a single line. So in the first line there is only one star, and all the lines after that in the first 1 to 4 lines there are 2 stars. So I'm going to write a case, a conditional statement. If I is not equal to 1, then I'll write the ending star, the star that is at the end. Okay, so I'll write the statement, I'll copy it as it is, and finally I'll write the space that is going to change it to the next line. Okay, so what I did over here was, in this conditional statement, I printed the stars in every line except the first one. So let us run the program and see. Okay, I'll write this as new, just new, and I'll run the program. Just a moment. Yeah, I'll run it. Oh, so I'm getting some minor errors. So I'll check the whole thing if there's any mistake. So here I have to print to the next line. So there, we have the first part. There we have the first part. Okay, now we come to the second portion. The second portion will be comprising of this rectangle that would have tending from these 3 lines. Okay, so let us go for the rectangle. I'll write a comment, rectangle. Now in the rectangle, the rectangles is a much pretty easier, very easier than the other two. So I'll write for I in range, it will go from 1 to 3. The loop will run from 1 to 3. So we'll go in the next line, right here, and write for j. Okay, first we have to print the stars. In each line there are no spaces in the beginning but a star. So I'll write the star. I'll copy the statement and write it as it is. Okay, so in the next line I'll run another loop for j in range. I'll run another loop. The motive of the loop is to print the spaces that lies between 2 stars. Okay, so it will run from 1, 6, and I'll print the spaces. So it's a pretty interesting program. It's a bit long, and again I'll print those stars. So I've printed the stars. Now to the next line, a print statement that will take me to the next line. So, and empty. So let's run it and see what have we got. Okay, so we got the 2 portions. We can see it right over here. I've got the 2 portions. So Now we move on to the third portion. The third portion is the portion of the inverted triangle. So I'll write a comment which basically says inverted triangle. Now, here you see this is pretty much same as the previous one with a small minor inversions. Okay, here the spaces in the beginning are increasing. Here they were decreasing 3, 2, 1, 0. Here it is increasing 1, 2, 3. So I'll initialize the outer space. I'll copy this variable and write an outer space. This sp outer means the outer spaces, the spaces that lies between before the stars. Okay, and then I'll initialize it with 0, and I'll also write the inner space and initialize it with 5. So why I started with 0? Because I tend to start from this line. Okay, because in the last line, in the last triangle or rectangle, I have run the program for 2 times. That would be 5 and 6. The loop runs 2 times. Here it is. The loop is running for 2 times. 1, 2, 3. The loop is running for 2 times. And so I want to run the program for from 0. Okay, so I'll write the loop for, actually the outer loop would be same as the beginning one. So I'll copy this. So I did a lot of copying in this program because the program is like that. Now, first comes the spaces. So for the spaces, I'll write a statement that would tend from 1 to sp outer plus 1. Okay, and then I'll print the space because first comes the spaces. So I'll copy it, I'll move over there, and I'll print it. So here comes the spaces. Next, I'll print the star. So the same thing that we did in the previous portion of the program. But first I have to increment this sp outer. Sp outer. Actually, the sp outer tends to increase by 1. So I have to write plus equal to 1. And then I have to write this. The star portion. Okay. Now I'll write another loop that will control the spaces in between 2 stars. Alright. Now I'll go for 1 and sp inner. Sp inner. I'll go from sp inner plus 1 because the reason for that is in each lines this sp inner tends to decrease by 1. So in each line we'll be going from 1 to sp inner. So in the next line what I'll do is I'll write the spaces. Then I'll decrease decrease space sp inner. Decrease sp inner. Decrease sp inner by minus equal to 2 because in each line the sp inner tends to decrease by 2. Here there were, I'll try to explain you just a moment. Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here there are 5 spaces. Here there are 3 spaces. Here there is 1 space and then 0. Nothing. So I'll write the same condition that I was writing in the previous portion with a bit difference. I'll write if I is not equal to 4. Sorry, I is not equal to 4, then print star. That means in each line, just a moment. Yes, that means in each line, 2 stars will be printed except the last line. The program is written in that manner. So in the last line, I'll write a print and empty loop, empty bracket. So I'll run the program and see. Yes, we have got the output. See, it's right over here. If you can't see, I'll just copy it for you and paste it somewhere else, right here. And you see, you get exactly what we want. It's right over here. So this was all about that program. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. So see you in the next video. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, okay?